So already it looks like police are getting toward a situation where they know who it is and they're manipulating the evidence, kind of the opposite of what police and prosecutors are supposed to do. The need to sort of prove the crime wasn't there so much, it was who did it. But the whole trial basically was Penny's identification and a reenactment with her husband of the crime. Very odd, in my opinion, how it came off. I came into this story when DNA evidence showed through the Wisconsin Innocence Project. I'm on the board there, funny, a prosecutor being on the board of the Innocence Project. As Orson Welles once said, if you want a happy ending of a story, it depends on where you stop the story. Unfortunately, the Stephen Avery story didn't stop with Mr. Avery's exoneration. With a $36 million wrongful conviction lawsuit going well, Mr. Avery was arrested for the brutal homicide of a young freelance photographer named Teresa Hall. The only defense was, because there was physical evidence this time, was the police, upset about that wrongful conviction action, were up to it again.
The popularity of a Netflix documentary keeps growing. Making a Murderer follows the case of Stephen Avery, his wrongful conviction for rape, and later conviction for murder. And as our Jenna Sachs reports tonight, it has many calling for a new trial.
This series is incredibly engaging, fascinating, and it's also one of the most infuriating things that I have ever seen in my entire life, because the way it exposes the justice system and the flaws in the justice system is unbelievable.
This is one of the most addictive, chilling, haunting, one of the most fucked up shows I've ever seen. Like, it's like a real life thriller.
The whole case towards Stephen Avery seems like it was about creating a lot of smoke so a fucking jury would go, well, that's where the fire started.
The gross mishandling of the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department that locked him up, we're talking, it is fishy as shit. All of it, you watch it and you're like, I think this guy might have wrongfully gotten fucked out of his life.
The worst possible, they put the worst possible light on the police, and really kind of unyielding sympathy for Mr. Avery. In order to believe Mr. Avery did not do it, there's only one other choice, and that is that two police officers, at least, were involved in a conspiracy of planting evidence.
This, of course, is the clear implication and the message of this Netflix documentary, correct?
It is. I mean, there's no question. But this case, I know particularly the two officers. Jim Link gives communion out at my church. Andy Colburn reminds people of a Boy Scout. And these people are getting threats because of this documentary and a sort of a one-sided narrative.
And what that person in custody had said was that he had committed an assault in Manitowoc County and someone else was in jail for it, correct?
Yes, sir.
When Stephen Avery was serving 18 years for the rape that he didn't commit, there was actually something that came forward that absolved him of that crime before the DNA evidence actually did. The Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department was like, yeah, okay, click, and they did nothing about it. They've been corrupt before, so I see no reason why they couldn't be corrupt now.
the worst possible, light on the police, and really kind of unyielding sympathy for Mr. Avery. Sort of a one-sided narrative.
He stands up, we're told, to test Jesus. In other words, he was a hypocrite.